friend, welcome to Chrysalis Chats, your 7-day-a-week, that's every single day, source for plant-based inspiration and how-tos. My name is Tanya, and like a caterpillar to a butterfly, I help people metamorphosize their diets and lifestyles to be plant-based. Today we're talking about how to make one of my favorite soups called garbanzo bean flour dumpling soup, okay? And it is, let me tell you, extraordinary. Maybe you saw my video from yesterday explaining why I feel soup is such a good go-to for us as plant-based individuals through these cold, autumn and winter seasons, okay? There's a lot of different reasons in there and information that maybe you didn't think of, so go ahead and check that video out. The link's right there. And with that said, let's get into it. So the first thing you want to do in making this soup is make your broth. And maybe you already have broth, or maybe you need to make some broth, which in case if you have to make some broth, I recommend using carrot tops. You can actually boil your carrot tops, and that will be a really tasty broth to start off this soup. If you boil carrot tops, just be sure that you wash the greens off really well, and just make sure you take out the remaining leaves of the carrot tops once you're ready to turn your broth into soup, because you probably don't want to be eating the leaves themselves in this instance. Just a tip, okay? So after you get your broth ready, what you're going to do is prepare your dumplings. And you're going to combine your garbanzo bean flour, which I actually recommend Bob's Red Milk. So basically you just add whatever you want to your dumplings. My basic recommendation would be Himalayan salt, okay, black pepper, because it's a basic, let's be real, and rosemary. Those would be the three. I would also recommend adding a little bit of turmeric to this, because it's just good for color of your dumpling, but it's also really good for flavor and really good for purifying your body and helping you just keep really clean and warm and wholesome throughout the winter season or autumn as it may be. So then once you add all of your herbs and your seasoning that you want to your dumplings, that's when you introduce your fat to your dumplings. And I recommend olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is the best, and it tastes so good, not to mention it's really healthy. So you go ahead and add that to your dumplings, and you literally just want to put that in there and start stirring it, okay? And it's going to start to clump up, and that's perfect. Then once you're at that stage, you've added your herbs, you've added your oil, your fat, okay? Then go ahead and use some of your broth from your soup and mix it into your dumpling, and you're looking for the consistency of you could say like a dry cake batter. You don't really want it to be like cake batter because that would still be too runny, and you don't really want it quite like a bread dough. I suppose it's more like a bread dough. That's the consistency that you're going toward. But if you feel like it's really thick and kind of sticking together too much and it's hard, that's the key. If it's hard to the touch while it's in this stage, I would say don't go ahead and use that. Add some more broth and get it to be a little more loose, somewhere in between cake batter and bread, okay? That's what you're looking for. Dough, that's what I'm trying to say, bread dough, okay? So somewhere in between there. Then you're gonna take a scoop of it into a rolling boil pot. You want your water and your broth of your soup to be a rolling boil. It needs to be like really hot or the dumplings just won't cook right. So once you see your broth in your soup, boiling at a high rate, go ahead and drop spoonful by spoonful your dumpling mixture into that. And just try not to hit the same spot of your pot twice in a row, because you don't want the dumplings to stick together. Although honestly, I haven't had much issue with this in this recipe, because as long as you ensure that your broth is at a rolling boil, it will cook right away, to at least enough to where it won't stick together, okay? So anyway, at this point you have your dumplings cooking, right? And you'll notice that as they cook, they're gonna start floating up towards the surface, or they're gonna just stay around the surface of your pot. So at this point, that's when you have all your veggies that are pre-washed and sliced up into the size that you want to use, and you dump your veggies in there right about when your dumplings are almost ready, almost thoroughly cooked. I do it this way because, some people might say, but Tanya, are you supposed to start with your vegetables in this instance? But if you've been watching Chrysalis Chats long enough, then you know that I'm really into keeping fruits and vegetables as living as possible. Raw people are awesome. Raw people rock. Keep going raw if that's what works for you. For me, I feel like I need a little bit of extra warmth in these autumn seasons, so I will admit that I don't eat as much raw fruits and vegetables. I definitely still eat my raw fruits though in winter, just because I feel like that's the best. But without that, digression, I'll just say that I suggest for you in this recipe that you add your vegetables at the end of the cooking process. And that's going to help keep them not as like dead, quote unquote, for lack of a better word. It's not gonna like boil the heck out of them where they have like no life in them anymore, right? Really, whatever works for you, whatever you're craving. Something to think about is that the dumplings, because they are made of garbanzo bean flour, they're gonna be really dense and really protein rich for your digestive system, which is a good thing. But just consider that if you're thinking of adding beans to this, there's already like garbanzo bean flour in it. And you use pretty much a whole bag with this. If you're going to make a huge pot of stew or soup, you're going to use like a whole bag. So it's a lot of protein in this dish, okay? As is. So I recommend, again, carrots, kale, potatoes. I think that's a really good combination. So then once you add them, you're really just stirring it a couple times, being sure that your dumplings are cooking, kind of rotating them, and of course indulging yourself in the fragrance of experience of this soup, because it is so divine and it feels really good to smell it in, and it's just so soothing on your skin even. Just standing there at the pot of soup, it's really a great dish. And after you get done with all that, your dumplings are cooked, it's time to enjoy it. So serve yourself up a nice bowl. You can let it cool completely, put it in the fridge if you're going to use it throughout the week, put it in the freezer if you know that you want to go ahead and use it a bit longer throughout the season. You can put it in individual serving bags. That's what I recommend if you're going to do that, just to make it super quick and easy for yourself throughout the season when you know you want a good pot of soup, or a good bowl of soup. It's going to be really helpful for you to have them pre-packaged, if you will. So you can get the recipe for this at my website, chrysalisandcocoon.com. The link is below in the description box. And if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up to let me know that you appreciated it and that it helped you out. Be sure to subscribe if you're not already. Put a comment down below letting us know if you plan on making this soup. And of course, if you do, come back and put a comment letting us know what you thought of it. I would love to know. With that said, my friend, whether you're just starting off as a tiny little caterpillar, like where are the leaves at, or you're a full-fledged butterfly sipping the nectar of a plant-based diet, you, my friend, are awesome. Have a blessed day.